From humble beginnings, Recep Tayyip Erdogan has grown into a political giant, reshaping Turkey more than any leader since Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the revered father of the modern public. But in recent years, the economy has deteriorated. Inflation is nearly 12%, and the Turkish lira has slumped against the dollar. Erdogan's early years in power were marked by solid growth and a development boom. In this video, we're going to discuss 10 disturbing facts about President Erdogan of Turkey. This video will blow your mind, so make sure you stick to the end. Number 10. He just helped the Syrian rebels seize an area because he really hates the Kurds. Turkey considers the biggest militia in the Kurdish-led alliance a terrorist organization. It says it's an extension of a Kurdish rebel group fighting in Turkey. Turkish troops and allied Syrian rebels launched an offensive to create a 30-kilometer, 20-mile deep safe zone along the Syrian side of the border. It came after the withdrawal of US troops who had relied on the Kurds to defeat the Islamic State group. President Erdogan wants to push back from his border members of a Syrian Kurdish militia called the People's Protection Units (YPG). Turkish leaders view the YPG as a terrorist organization. They say it's an extension of the Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK), which has fought for Kurdish autonomy in Turkey for decades. Number 9. Erdogan may have staged the coup to cement his own power. It's been almost 9 months since Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan crushed a coup attempt and then declared a state of emergency, imprisoning opposition politicians, arresting tens of thousands of perceived opponents, journalists, and civil society leaders, confiscating opponents' businesses and bank accounts, and cracking down on the remnants of the free press. Erdogan called the coup attempt and the excuse to crush his opponents a gift from God. The fact that it included individuals who died in the weeks and months before their listing shows the spuriousness of the list and the lack of any honest investigation. Number 8. Military muscle. In recent years, President Erdogan has pushed harder to project Turkish power abroad. That has riled many countries, not least the EU and Turkey's NATO allies. The Turkish military has become involved in the conflicts in Libya, Syria, and indirectly Nagorno-Karabakh in the Caucasus. The territory is recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan. The Turkic Azerbaijanis are traditionally close to Turkey, and the oil-rich state has key export pipelines transiting Turkey. In the Caucasus and the wars in Libya and Syria, Mr. Erdogan's ambitions clash with Russian President Vladimir Putin's. Untapped gas reserves in the eastern Mediterranean are part of Mr. Erdogan's geopolitical agenda. Number 7. He may have been responsible for chemical warfare against the Kurds. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has so far ignored international pressure to halt the offensive, which has killed dozens of civilians and forced more than 300,000 people to flee their homes. The embattled Kurdish authorities in northeastern Syria accused Turkey of resorting to banned weapons such as napalm and white phosphorus munitions, a charge Ankara has denied. Faced with the obvious failure of his plan, Erdogan is resorting to weapons that are globally banned such as phosphorus and napalm. The statement added, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a Britain-based monitoring group with a wide network of sources on the ground, could not confirm the use of napalm or white phosphorus. Number 6. Inaction of Erdogan's political rival on hacking scandal unmasks cowed opposition in Turkey. The mysterious inaction of the main opposition party in Turkey in the face of scandalous revelations that the government used spy software bought from Germany to hack into opposition communication suggests it may very well have been cowed into silence over fears of an embarrassing expose by the Turkish intelligence agency. In March 2022, German-based tech company Finnfisher GmbH, part of the Gamma Group, was dissolved after it became the subject of a criminal investigation by German authorities for illegally selling hacking software to oppressive regimes abroad including Turkey. Perhaps a legal challenge and litigation in Turkish courts against a government entity would be mission impossible and doomed to failure from the start, given the fact that the judiciary is under the control of the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Number 5. He could potentially gain access to nuclear weapons. Tayyip Erdogan said it was unacceptable for nuclear-armed states to forbid Ankara from obtaining its own nuclear weapons, but did not say whether Turkey had plans to obtain them. Some countries have missiles with nuclear warheads, not 1 or 2, but they tell us we can't have them. This I cannot accept, he told his ruling AK party members in the eastern city of Sivas. There's no developed nation in the world that doesn't have them, Erdogan said. In fact, many developed countries don't have nuclear weapons. Erdogan hinted that he wanted the same protection for Turkey as Israel. Number 4. President Erdogan has been cracking down on free speech, protest, and the media. Not long after Turkish lawmakers, aligned with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's administration, presented the parliament with a bill to criminalize disinformation, a new wave of arrests targeting journalists was launched, underlining the government's multi-pronged attempt to monopolize the right to decide on the truth ahead of the upcoming elections in June of 2023. Erdogan's government passed the law against crimes committed through publication on the internet in 2007, amending it in the following years to give authorities increasingly more power to block websites. Meanwhile, the Turkish Penal Code and anti-terror law have been used to jail or legally harass hundreds of journalists. Number 3. He may be on a course to remain president and dictator for life. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is one of a crop of present-day political leaders who value the respectability an ostensibly democratic election confers but don't want to risk actually losing the vote. In this respect, Turkey's president is no different from Russia's Vladimir Putin and Egypt's Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The AKP won a clear majority of seats in parliament in 2015 and is already assured of the support, should it need it, of the Nationalist Movement Party (MHP). As for Erdogan, he remains Turkey's dominant politician, a position he has occupied for a decade or more at home, in contrast to his steady decline in his international standing. Number 2. He has brutally cracked down on Kurdish people living in Turkey. A group of children greets a convoy of Turkey army vehicles returning from the Syrian side of the border by saluting the soldiers and raising their fingers in a victory sign. Behind them, a group of men gathers by the side of a house partially destroyed by a rocket. Since the start of Turkey's offensive in northeast Syria, at least 20 civilians have died in the seemingly indiscriminate shelling in Akakale and other Turkish towns near the border, according to officials in Ankara. Support for the invasion of Turkey was high from the outset. For many Turks and for their president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the deaths will offer a chance to show that the invasion, as another chapter in the endless war against Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK), a separatist Kurdish group in Turkey, was a matter of necessity, not choice. Number 1. A delusional Erdogan has threatened the US while comparing himself to the Ottomans. Some years ago, the Ottoman slap returned to the political lexicon. After the US administration threatened to return fire if its troops in Syria's Kurdish areas were attacked, Recep Tayyip Erdogan responded with a threat of his own. 2 days after Erdogan's Ottoman slap speech, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson stopped in the Turkish capital for a 3.5-hour meeting with the Turkish president and foreign minister. Erdogan understands Washington's dilemma and has kept up his assaults. After the UN Security Council passed a resolution calling for a 30-day ceasefire in Syria, mainly to help the 300,000 residents of eastern Ghouta under heavy Syrian bombardment, Erdogan declared that the resolution does not apply to the Turkish military operations in the Kurdish-controlled enclave of Afrin. Let us know your opinion about the president of Turkey in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video.